If someone tells you to pull your weight, they mean to do your fair share of the work. For example, as a teacher, I might tell my students, for our group project, everyone must pull their weight. They need to contribute equally. If one person is lazy and doesn't contribute and doesn't pull their weight, that is not fair to the other students. So let me know if one of your group members does not pull their weight. Hello, my favorite English language learners. It's your favorite English teacher here, Amy Joy. And in this video, I'm going to give you 13 useful idioms and phrases to use at school and work. So let's move on to number 2, to go the extra mile. This means to put in extra effort to achieve something. So one time I actually assigned an essay to my students and they needed to include one interview with someone. Then my students submitted their essay and they included 3 interviews. They really went the extra mile. They did more than they were expected. They went above and beyond. They went the extra mile. Number 3, to hit the nail on the head. This means to answer something exactly right or perfectly. For example, if I ask you, when do we use the second conditional? And you say, we use the second conditional to talk about hypothetical or imaginary situations in the present. And I can say, wow, yes, you really hit the nail on the head. You answered that perfectly, exactly right. And if you're confused about the second conditional, go check out my video where I cover it in depth. Next, we have the idiom to bite off more than you can chew. Imagine that you have a really big cheeseburger and you take a huge bite. And then you have so much food in your mouth, you can barely chew it. You bit off more than you can chew. So imagine this cheeseburger as your responsibility and you bite off more than you can chew. You took on more responsibility than you could handle. You signed up to do more than you are able. So for example, usually in college, you will take 3 to 4 classes per semester. That's a normal workload, but oftentimes I have students who sign up for 5, maybe 6 classes, but then in the middle of the semester, they are burnt out, they are overworked, and they are overwhelmed. And I tell them, wow, you really bit off more than you could chew. They took on too much responsibility and they can't really handle it. And next, to throw in the towel. This means to quit something or to stop trying. And so when my students are taking 6 classes and they come to me overwhelmed and overworked, I say, hey, maybe it's time to throw in the towel. Maybe you should drop one of your classes so you are not so stressed. Maybe it's time to throw in the towel. And before we move on to our next idiom, I want to remind you, if you have found these words helpful or useful so far, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to my channel so you can keep improving your English vocabulary with me. Okay, and our next idiom is to put something on the back burner. And this means to delay or not prioritize something. It means to make it second, not first. And this actually comes from cooking terminology. Imagine a chef at a stove. A normal stove has 4 burners, 2 in the front and 2 in the back. Now imagine they're making soup or something. They have soup on the front burner, but now they need to move on to making steaks. So they move the soup to the back burner so they can work on grilling the steaks on the front burner. By moving something to the back burner, they have delayed working on it. It is not the priority right now. And so one of my students might say, oh, my art project is due next week, but my biology test is tomorrow. So now I need to put my art project on the back burner so I can study for my biology test. So since their biology test is tomorrow, that is the most important thing, that is the priority, and they are moving their art project to the back burner so they can focus on the most important thing right now. Then we have the idiom to do something by the book. This means to follow the rules or instructions exactly as they are written. You know, a book usually has all of the information that you need, and so if you follow something by the book, you're doing it exactly as the book says. For example, a chemistry instructor might say, for our lab experiment, we need to follow the steps by the book to get accurate results. We need to do it exactly as the book says. And next we have a rule of thumb. This is a general guideline or principle based on experience, but it is not a formal rule. It's more just like a guide to help you. For example, in my writing classes, sometimes my students will ask me, how long does a paragraph have to be? And I usually say a general rule of thumb is 5 to 8 sentences. Now, this is not a formal rule. There are many paragraphs that are shorter and many paragraphs that are longer. But usually in a regular old essay, if you have about 5 to 8 sentences, that should be good enough. That is a general rule of thumb. Then we have the phrase to get up to speed. To get up to speed means to be updated or informed on a subject. We usually use this phrase when someone is absent or misses something, or you have different levels of information. You all need to get up to speed so you can continue together. For example, a professor might say, if you missed last week's lecture, make sure you read the summary and watch the video to get up to speed, to get updated, to get informed, to catch up before tomorrow's lecture. You need to get up to speed. Then we have the phrasal verb to break something like a concept or a big idea down. And it means to explain something in a simple, basic way. So if my student asks me, I don't know how the second conditional works, I can say, well, let's break it down step by step. And then I might show them the formula for the grammar and break it down into the clauses and the specific grammar, step by step. I break it down. I break it down. Then we have the phrase to stay on track. This means to remain focused and not get distracted. So sometimes in my classes, I might be talking about, say, the second conditional, but then my student asks me, Amy Joy, how do Americans celebrate Thanksgiving? Well, that is not what we are talking about right now, so I might tell that student, that is a great question, I would love to answer it, but we need to stay on track. We need to stay focused, stay on topic, and not get distracted. And then, of course, after class, I would tell them all about Thanksgiving. Next, we have a gray area. A gray area is something that is unclear or ambiguous. It's not black, it's not white, it's kind of gray. It's somewhere in the middle. It doesn't have a clear answer. So, for example, my student might ask me, Amy Joy, is it okay to use AI or ChatGPT for our essays? And I will say, it's a really gray area. Every professor thinks something differently. Using AI in school right now is a huge gray area because it is so new and it is always changing and we all have different perspectives on it. And our last idiom for the day is the jury is still out. And if you don't know, a jury is a group of 12 people that listen to a trial and have to decide if a person is guilty or innocent of a crime. And so if we say the jury is still out, that means that a group of people haven't decided on something. So this idiom means that people do not agree. They have not formed a consensus. They have not agreed together. For example, the jury is still out on whether or not online learning is as effective as in-person learning. There's a lot of disagreement and people have arguments for both ways, so the jury is still out. We don't know or we can't agree on it. Okay, well there you have it. 13 super useful idioms that we often hear in school and in the workplace. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite and use it in a sentence to practice. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something new. If you did, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel so you can keep improving your English with me. I'll see you next time. Bye!